What's up guys, welcome to another Java/APCS tutorial, and in this short video we're going to be talking about static variables and methods. And up to this point we really haven't talked about static that much, but we've seen it in our declaration of our main method, or when we use our main method, and that it basically reads public static void main string args. And we're going to talk about why that is. But first, just a very basic definition of static is it's basically a reserved word that's used to designate that something exists within a class. So typically when we talk about static variables, those are really what we call our class variables. I've kind of hinted at how the instance variables that we've created, those private instance variables, are our class variables, and that's very true, but I think static gives is a better definition for a class variable, because those static variables and methods can exist even if an object or an instance of that class hasn't been instantiated. So you don't need to create an object to access these static variables or members. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just create our own static variable right now. And we're going to say public static string, and we always put static before our data type, and we can just call it something like static string is equal to I am a static string. And what's really cool about these static strings is, again, that we can access them, or we can call them basically without creating an object. So what we can do is we can just create a print statement, so system.out.println, and right here we can just say show, which is the name of our class that our static variable is in, and we can static string. So show.static string. And if we go ahead and run that, you'll see that it says I am a static string. Now, if we got rid of this static and just created a public string, it would give us an error, and it would say cannot make a static reference to the non-static field show.static string. So it expects the static keyword. And now what we're going to do is we're going to delete this, and we're going to delete this. And we're going to take a look at a quick program that we can write that can show how static variables are used. So we can create a static variable, and we can call it, it's going to be an int, and we can call it count. And now we can create a constructor, or an instance, and we can say count plus plus, and I'll explain why we're doing that. And we can just write system.out.println. We can print out something that just says this is object number, and then we can just plus count. And then what we can do is we can create objects of the show class instance. So we can just say show s1 is equal to new show, and that automatically calls this constructor. And so what it will be doing, is when we create these objects, count will be incrementing. So show s2 is equal to new show, so s3 is equal to new show, and we can go ahead and run this. And what this is going to say is it's going to print out this is object number 1, this is object number 2, and this is object number 3. And the reason it does that is because we need to declare our count variable as static so that it's part of the class and not tied to each individual object. So if we go ahead and, again, we get rid of this static key, and we just go ahead and run this program again, it's going to say this is object number 1, this is object number 1, this is object number 1, because that in count is only being referenced to each individual object. So it's not, so that's why we need to make it static. And now we're going to write a really quick program that's going to kind of tie everything together. So we are going to create a private string first name, private string last name, and a private static string. And again, private just basically means that other classes cannot access it, and public means that any class, any subclass or superclass can access it. So we can just write private static band members. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a constructor, which is going to take the parameters string name, actually string f name, and string l name. And again, we're just going to set first name equal to f name and last name equal to l name, so that when the constructor is being called and the object is being created, we can set values to those instance variables. And then we can just increment our static variable by 1 every time this constructor is being called. And so what we can do is we can create new objects. So show 1 is equal to new show. It's going to give us an error because we need to specify parameters. And we can say, go ahead and copy and paste this. We can say Anthony Kiedis. Show 2. Chad Smith. Show 3. John Frusciante. And show 4 is equal to Flea Balzery. Oops, getting an error here. And we can just write a quick print statement that says, I don't know, something like, the lineup of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I'm going to spell that wrong on purpose, is as follows. And we're going to create a print statement down here that's going to say band members plus just a dash plus first name plus last name. Cool. And we're going to go ahead and run this, and we're going to see what it prints. So it's going to say, you know, the lineup of the Red Hot Chili Peppers is as follows, and it's going to say 1, Anthony Kiedis, 2, Chad Smith, 3, John Frusciante, and 4, Flea Balzery. And that's basically a look at how our static int, which is band members, is being incremented every time for each constructor call. And yeah, so I hope that gave you kind of a good basis on how static variables work. In the next video, we're going to be talking about final variables. Thank you so much.